So Bernie Sanders launched his campaign a few days ago, and in all seriousness, I think it went better than anybody was expecting. I'm not sure, but my guess is even internally they were probably like, whoa, everybody is still feeling the burn. In fact, the burn has turned into a giant forest fire, and nobody could put this thing out. So a lot of people were waiting, like you and I were, for this official launch, and everybody started making it rain on Bernie. So take a look at this. Senator Bernie Sanders, the self-described Democratic Socialist, received $5.9 million from about 223,000 donors in the 24 hours after he announced his repeat bid for the U.S. presidency. In total, the Vermont Independent has raised $6 million. That number's way higher now, by the way. This article's from yesterday. With small dollar pledges mirroring the average donation of $27 from his 2016 run, according to his campaign. The fundraising rose from the $4 million the campaign said he amassed as of the evening of February 19th, the day he announced. Sanders, 77, is seeking to become the Democratic Party's nominee. His fundraising efforts eclipsed that of Senator Kamala Harris, whose initial $1.5 million from about 38,000 donors had been the biggest first-day money haul of the 2020 race so far. The California Democrat announced her bid for the Democratic nomination January 21st. Okay, so, all right, think about that. Kamala Harris raises $1.5 million from 38,000 donors. That was big news. Everybody's like, oh my God, Kamala Harris, oh, it must be so popular. Look at these numbers. Ooh. Bernie comes along and he's like, yeah, step aside. $5.9 million from 223,000 donors. 223,000. I think everybody's underestimating the American people in that people are done being placated, man. Everybody wants the real deal Holyfield. And actually, you're going to see some of this in some stories that we're going to do later on with Amy Cloudboot-Jarr's town hall, where people are asking questions, and it's like all of the questions are the kind of questions that any of us would ask. And these are not necessarily Secular Talk listeners, but like one of the questions was like, yeah, why can't we have Medicare for all when every other developed country has it? And, like, we always talk about how we're number one, but we can't do a basic thing that every other country could do. So, those are questions being asked at a town hall of Amy Cloudboot-Jarr. Regular people are asking about this stuff now. I think that everybody's like, okay, we're ready for the real deal Holyfield. The old school Clinton-style Democrats, the new Democrats, as they were called, the triangulators, whose whole argument was like, me, bro? I'm above the fray. I agree with Republicans and Democrats from time to time, and I'm a middle-of-the-road kind of character, you know? It was, Bill Clinton famously, the era of big government is over. That style of Democrat, gonzo. Dead and gone. And Cloudboot-Jarr is one of the last remnants of it. Howard Schitz, even though he's running as an independent, is one of the last remnants of it. And they're going to have an embarrassing go of it this time around. They're going to... 1% or less is what we're talking about if they actually stay in for the election. But now we have Democrats who are going back to their FDR roots. And very clearly so. There's no, hiding the ball with that either. It's up front. Bernie Sanders was asked in his launch interview, hey, would taxes go up on corporations under you? And he scoffed, and he was like, absolutely. And that's what people are looking for now. They're not looking for the, in order to make a decision on something like corporate taxes, you need to call a meeting and have a boardroom full of people, including the executives from the companies, and you sit down and you try to figure out what would work best for all of society and how much revenue are we going to raise in the short term versus the long term, and is this going to have a confiscatory effect on the growth of the economy? And it's like, shut the fuck up! Can you take a bold stand on policy positions that are overwhelmingly popular? People are tired of being placated. So even though Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and Kirsten Gillibrand, they're actually way more clever than Hillary Clinton, who was still running on the I'm the candidate who can win because I'm a pragmatic progressive. they're not silly enough to think that that centrist ideology is still popular and is where the energy of the party is. But they're not even putting on a convincing facade to make you think that they're the real deal Holyfield. One main character who is the front runner by a mile and a half. And listen, it's at the point where it's delusional in corporate media for them not to acknowledge this. They really do think, like, fringe, Bernie, old, crazy ideas. Meanwhile, again, the polls show his ideas are overwhelmingly popular. But they have no clue what's about to hit them. They have no clue. And by the way, Washington Post did it again. Remember last time they ran like 14 hit pieces on him within one 24-hour period? Well, now they just did it. They're just ramping up. They did 4 hit pieces on him in one day. And by the way, the argument was why Bernie's massive fundraising overhaul is not, is nothing to be impressed by. Wait a second. It was corporate media for the longest time that told us the hallmark of a serious candidate is fundraising. Now, I actually don't agree with that. I think that you have to go based off their policy ideas and based off their poll numbers. That's a much better indicator than money. But, okay, if we accept your argument and we accept your criteria, well, he just won based off your criteria. But now they're poo-pooing it and downplaying it. Why? Because, again, he's the non-corporate candidate. So now they're like, money? This guy's now beating our ass at our game? Well, now let me tell you why money doesn't really matter. Oh, God, here we go. Keep goalposts moving. That goalpost is just going to move endlessly. That's what's going to happen. And again, also, let's keep it real. It's because it's small dollar donors giving to Bernie. So you got the nurse down the street, the kindergarten teacher a couple blocks over, regular people who are like, yeah, this guy's going to look out for me, so we're going to donate to him. No. Now money is not... Why? This isn't really anything. Let me write an article about why this doesn't mean anything. They would rather have the elite approval, the corporate approval, and, the approval of the status quo. The approval of the people who are already the elites in society. And that's going to the likes of Kamala Harris and some others. But Bernie Sanders is by far and away the favorite. And it's honestly, he's crushing them. I'm going to be very interested to see what ends up happening in the debates, but then also once you get to Iowa and once we start getting to the primaries and the caucuses, because there's a lot of corporate media hacks who are going to be fucking floored by the results. But you know who won't be floored by the results? Me and all of you.